Mano Vaha Sroto Dushti means disorders of the mind or mental mind-carrying channel. And there are four main types: Ati Pravritti, Sangha, Siragranthi, and Vimarga Gamanam. And let's jump right into Ati Pravritti, which refers to hyperactivity. Some of the main disorders of hyperactivity mind, or Ati Pravritti literally means overactive. So what are some of the signs and symptoms of an overactive mind? Anxiety, excessive thinking is one. Also, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, very commonly diagnosed now. And that includes, it could include anything from inattention, the inability to stay on task, hyperactivity, and or impulsivity, making hasty actions in the moment without thinking about them. So uncontrollable and intense desires can be a sign of a hyperactive mind or overactive mind. Example of that would be addiction, the compulsive eating disorder. Excessive fear, anger, aggression, or greed can be a sign of a hyperactive mind. What are some causes that would make it even worse? If a person has ADHD, what is going to aggravate their ADHD? Well, frequent travel could. Insufficient rest or sleep, or a poor routine in general, is going to aggravate Vata. And anything that aggravates Vata can ultimately be a cause of overactive mind. That could include a person who has austere diets or has lost too much weight, like a person with an eating disorder. A person who has too much exposure to the cold, or who's doing extreme exercising like running marathons, or multitasking too much, who has a very fast-paced and irregular lifestyle, or really a person who does anything extreme could end up with a hyperactive mind. If you're taking stimulants, there's an epidemic of coffee right now. It seems that people can't get through the day without having a cup of coffee. Maybe they know how their body should be designed better than their body does, right? I mean, you have to wonder why so many people have to have coffee every day, if there's not something wrong with that. But other drugs too. If you get into a confrontation with somebody, that's going to heat up your mind. Arguments heat up your brain. So what do you do if you find yourself in a confrontation? Well, the first thing is discuss what happened instead of the person's character or behavior patterns, right? If you attack a person's character, you're going to have a fight on your hands. But if you discuss what happened, you guys both may be able to come up with some solutions to the specific problem. Troubleshoot solutions rather than doubting your opponent's intentions is a great way to help resolve conflict. If you say, oh, you did that because you're a liar, you're doubting your opponent's intentions, or you're trying to manipulate me, or something like that. You're doubting their intentions, as opposed to saying, hey, how could we have done better next time, or how could we have solved this better? Assume the great intention of your opponent. And always avoid arguments after 10 p.m., which is Pitta time. So what are some treatments for an overactive mind? Take 10 slow, deep breaths. It's a great way to start relaxing your mind. Turn off all the screens by 8 p.m. at night. And stay grounded. Maintain a good routine. Avoid unnecessary travel. And go to safe, familiar places. Familiarity calms the mind and the gut and engages the heart. You can do some massage or body work, Abhyanga, a head massage or a foot massage with Bringaraj or Bringaraj oil or Brahmi oil, a Shirodhara treatment. In general, you want to get out of your head and into your heart and your body if you have Ati Pravritti or an overactive mind. So look for physical experiences and sensations instead of mental ones. Don't play a game of chess. Drink a cup of warm almond milk. Go play sports or do some swimming. Or do a hands-on project. Generally, you just want to focus on what is concrete instead of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions if you want to calm the mind. On a spiritual level, you can calm the mind by focusing on devotion instead of inspiration. What does that mean? That means that instead of like trying to get super inspired by some new idea, that you devote yourself in a loving and loyal way to a person, a place, or a circumstance that you're already in. Right? Devotion to a person is a wonderful way to calm the mind. Recommit to basic foundations instead of trying something new, and bloom where you're planted. Those are some ways on a spiritual level you could calm the mind. In your spiritual practice, you can also focus on beliefs involving relationships between individuals, or spiritual practices that involve relationship, like contemplating how to love a person, or contemplating, or praying for something good to happen to them. It's a great way to take the focus off of your own concerns and start thinking about somebody else. Doing a charitable act, nurturing someone, and spending time with old friends. What are some diet causes of hyperactive mind? Anything that creates deficiency. A vata-provoking diet, light or dry foods, getting dehydrated, eating diuretics. You can be drinking plenty of water, but eating foods that are diuretic in nature. Strict diets, raw and cold foods. But what are some things that help or are treatments for an overactive mind? Well, having healthy fats like ghee, or eating warm, well-cooked, and easy-to-digest foods that are vata pacifying, and staying hydrated, and avoiding food that is going to aggravate your body type. You can favor sweet and salty taste. Salty taste can aggravate desire, and so can sweet, so you have to be a little careful with that one. Omega-3s nourish your brain and nerves. And you can also try some homemade almond milk. And this looks like a drink with chia seeds in it here on the in the photo. And I see a vanilla bean, so it sounds like a vanilla almond milk chia seed drink with ghee. That's what it looks like to me. Maybe put some nice spices in there too. What are some herbal causes of atipravritti? Well, having excessively cleansing herbs, strong laxatives, strong aloe vera, neem, anything with strong bitter, strong diuretic, all those can aggravate atipravritti. Strong pungents like cayenne peppers can aggravate. What about treatments for atipravritti? Brahmi ghee or shankapushpi. Shankapushpi is a very calming herb. Brahmi ghee mixes the nourishing fat with the mental health herb. And your adaptogens. Think about adaptogens. Ashwagandha is specific for calming the nervous system and making it more steady. And you also have licorice, shatavari, and guduchi as other more grounding adaptogen herbs. Aromatics are good for tension, but you have to be careful with them because they're also very stimulating. You can also do things like rubbing special oils onto your feet or head before bed, like Bringaraj oil or Jadamumsi. For ADHD, you want to treat the emotion that's behind it or the cause. And then you could try some of these other herbs. Bala, Jadamumsi, Vidari, Tagara, and Ashwagandha. If you're having trouble focusing, Brahmi may be a great herb for you. Or Shankapushpi can relax you. If you have aggressive behavior or rage, you can try herbs that are going to be more cooling for the liver. Shatavari, Guduchi, or Bringaraj. Let's shift our attention to the opposite now. A stagnant mind or a blocked mind, which is called Sangha in Ayurveda. Here we have things like learning disabilities that affect a person's ability to understand or to use spoken or written language, or to do certain mathematical calculations, or to coordinate movements, or to direct their attention. These can all be different learning disorders. Now, a learning disorder doesn't mean that you're not smart. Thomas Edison had ADHD and dyslexia. Steven Spielberg had dyslexia. Einstein didn't start speaking until he was 4 years old. So if a person has a learning disability or a cognitive delay, that doesn't mean that they aren't smart or that they won't be successful. Sleeping too much is a sign of a stagnant mind, or having dullness and confusion. Being in a coma, or having a lack of direction in your life. And of course, depression can be a sign of Sangha. Depression is a common but serious mood disorder, and it can create severe symptoms that create dysfunction. Poor circulation can be a cause of an underactive mind. And even low blood pressure can be a cause of an underactive mind. Past trauma, hormonal imbalances, vegging out in front of the TV, having a sedentary lifestyle, or taking too many sedatives. All of those can be different causes of Sangha, or stagnancy in the mind. Let's talk about, I want to talk just a little bit more about depression before I move forward here. That depression takes many different forms. There's postpartum depression. There's persistent depression. And then there's things like seasonal affective disorder. So they're different kinds. There's also bipolar, where a person goes really high and then really low, right? They get really depressed but then manic at other times. So to be diagnosed with depression, the symptoms must be present for at least 2 weeks. And in general, depression is something that affects how you handle daily activities, such as sleeping, eating, or working. All right, let's talk about some therapies for stagnant mind. Well, one is exercise. Get your circulation going. Cleanse out the ama. Rub stimulating oils into your head and feet in the morning and before bed. For depression, you can try breathing exercises like pranayama. You know, just that breath of fire, just to get things going. Get a life coach. You know, get someone to push you. Coaches are there to push you, to make sure you succeed, right? Not everything in life is easy. You may be taking the course right now, and you're like, okay, how do I cross the finish line? A coach can help you. A coach will push you through. Memory exercises and games like that can also, strategic games can also increase your mental activity. Doing a crossword puzzle. Even stretching, so that if you do stretching to reduce lymphatic stagnation, that can be helpful. Or here's a memory exercise. Try to memorize your whole shopping list. That can help stimulate your mind. What are some diet causes of stagnant mind? Well, eating poor quality foods, especially oils, trans fats, processed foods, any kind of kapha aggravating diet, even overeating or eating late at night. What about some treatments? You could try going on a khichdi mono diet for 3 days. Try having some more spicy foods or bitter foods. Consider something like a radish or raw garlic or cayenne pepper. in your food choices. Any of your sedatives can cause a problem with sangha. So avoid herbs that are sedative in nature. Like, it could be anything from sleeping pills to nutmeg. Alcohol can also cause sangha. Marijuana or some psychiatric meds can cause depression too. Instead, you're going to do things like drink Brahmi tea. Brahmi is great for stimulating a dull mind. Vacha is illegal to take internally in the United States, or illegal to sell for internal use in the United States. But you can rub it on your skin and get a good stimulation there. Shankapushpi and licorice. For depression, you can take some of these too. Even though Shankapushpi is calming, that can help with depression because some depression is due to stress. You can also take Yogaraj Gugalu, which is a great formula for mental health. All right. I mentioned pungent foods already. Pungent herbs like tricketu and cayenne. And you can take Brahmi, Vacha, or Jadamumsi for syncope. Nervines are great for a stagnant mind. Peppermint can be good. Nasya oil I think of as a great herb for a stagnant mind. And also Bringraj. Bringraj can be a little sleepy though too. Not sure if that would be my first go-to. Rosemary is traditionally used to improve memory, and it stimulates the central nervous system. And Kapikachu, also known as itchy monkey herb, is useful for Parkinson's. Anything that increases blood flow is going to help with a stagnant mind, like holy basil. All right, let's talk about false passage. False passage is generally, when it comes to the mind, is a little bit more theoretical or a little bit more abstract. We would say that false passage of the mind is basically the mind inserting itself into an area where it doesn't belong. So, inflation of one's self. I think of... or excessive assertiveness, beyond what is reasonable. A person kind of pushing their way into something. Being very prideful. Pride is always a difficult one to deal with because pride takes so many forms. Like if a person says, I'm not going to go out of the house today because I don't look pretty. Some people would think, I'm being very humble about my looks, that I don't look very pretty. But really, they're protecting their pride, right? So they're like so prideful that they just won't allow themselves to be seen unless they're perfect. So pride can be a real tricky one. It often looks like humility, and sometimes it doesn't. This gentleman focused here looks quite smug. So it looks like he's thinking that he looks pretty hot there. So, and sometimes people, can think that way even because they're insecure underneath, right? But narcissism would be another example of false passage, where they think everything is about them. Envy is another one too, where you're coveting what belongs to somebody else. Your mind has no business going there, right? It's not yours. What are some lifestyle causes of Sira Granthi or this is dilation. I said false passage before, but Sira Granthi is dilation. So what are some other causes of dilation? Alcohol can really cause a person to blow up, right? Or Adderall, an over-prescribed treatment for ADHD. And, it's really a travesty how many people are on Adderall right now. But it causes an inflation of the mind. Conflict again, some of these are similar to Ati Pravritti. All right, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Vimarga Gamanam. Okay, so before I presented Sira Granthi as false passage by mistake, and it's really dilation there. So that one is where, a person mind becomes overinflated. Here is false passage, which looks a little bit more like psychoses and hallucinations and things like that. False cravings. Any desire for something that isn't good for you, including all addictions, is Vimarga Gamanam. It's driving the person into a false path in life. Even having your head in the clouds and being lost in imagination. That idea of like being lost in your mind is a little bit like Vimarga Gamanam. But again, these are very theoretical and more abstract for Vimarga Gamanam and Sira Granthi. And more Ati Pravritti and Sangha, hyperactivity and underactivity, are a little bit more, I think, fit into the Ayurveda model. So some lifestyle causes of Vimarga Gamanam could be taking hallucinogens like shrooms, LSD, or any past physical or psychological trauma, extreme grief or shock. And some of these psychoses can be genetic in nature. Hormones, I think, is a great example. I mean, some of these lifestyle causes, I think, are a little more relevant Ayurvedically, but the disorders that are associated with Vimarga Gamanam classically are maybe the thing that's a little more abstract here. But hormones can, with teenagers or PMS or stress in general, can cause a person to act out of the norm for them. Infection. Some parasites and bacteria actually try to change your mind and make you behave in different ways. I think of toxoplasmosis as an example of that, where it makes the person do more risky behaviors. A poor posture can affect your emotions unnaturally. And also suppressing natural urges can cause Vimarga Gamanam too. The urge to fart or something like that. High blood pressure. So those are just some examples there. What are some treatments? If you feel like you're going to faint, you can sprinkle some cold water on your face. Tuck your chin. You can inhale some fumes from a freshly cut or crushed onion. That will help. What about for drug addiction or alcoholism? Any kind of addiction is Vimarga Gamanam. What are we going to do for addictions? In general, well, I'll talk about this a little more, but Panchakarma, to clean the whole person. Shirodhara, to relax them. Netrabasti, over the eyes, to relax them. Brahmi ghee can help restore the mind, and Nasya oil. In general, those are good treatments for many mental health disorders. For neuralgias and stiffness, you can try Mahanarayan oil, which is a heating, penetrating oil that will help break up the tension and stiffness. Building strong core muscles can help with your posture so that you have confidence and your circulation is proper. Chiropractic adjustments. Wearing comfortable shoes. That can all help with building your posture so that your emotions are steady. And reducing stress, although I have to say that it's often really hard to help your clients reduce stress because they have that stress for a reason and it's hard to take away the reason. And community, having some community to keep you grounded in reality, right? None of us are so awesome that we can function optimally and independently, right? Like I am not, I'm not perfect mentally. Who is, right? So only a prideful person thinks that they can get by without any advice from anybody else, or without any direction or correction. And so community can really help you from going down that false road, that false passage. Any kind of vata aggravating diet will aggravate vimargagamanam, or false passage. Anything you're eating food you're allergic to, or create lots of ama, or leaky gut is a huge one. You feel like if you have leaky gut, you feel like you're possessed. Herbal causes of there's no slide here for that, but herbal causes of vimargagamanam would be things like your psychotropics, mushrooms, ayahuasca, peyote, etc. And here's a list of some treatments for some vimargagamanam disorders. Like for dizziness, kamaduta. For a lack of interest in things, brahmi or jadamamsi or shankapushpi. And for drug addiction, also brahmi. You'll see a lot of these formulas have brahmi in them because of its effects on clearing the mind as a general mental tonic. For psychosis, more ashwagandha and licorice. This is interesting that Alzheimer's is considered diabetes of the brain. I think that's an interesting concept. And if that is the case, then herbs like shilajit, gormar, bitter emelin, and turmeric can be helpful.